Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome back to the self-portrait live stream. I am continuing on my shirt. I need to do some more layering with black and my dark gray before I get to the lighter stripes. So that is what today's goal is going to be. Hope everyone had a fantastic Thursday. Today is indeed Friday. Forgot what day it was. But today is Friday, so I hope everyone has a good Friday also. Time for the weekend. I'm going to start off with some black here and do another layer over top of the black that I added for the shirt. And then I'll just get right back into the dark gray. Got my pencils all sharpened and ready to go, so Look who's prepared. I came prepared today. The weather is finally starting to warm up a little bit. I can actually live stream without a hoodie for once, which is nice. Hey there, Tessa, Jonas, Sneaks, Marcy, Sergio, Prince, Wendy, good to see all of you. Very, very happy to see all of you here. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out. If you guys have any questions for me, you know I never get enough of them, so ask away. Oh, it's constantly raining in Germany. You know, we just went through like a continuous rain for like 2 weeks now. The weather has just been so terrible. It was raining like pretty much every day this week. Today seems like the first day in like the past 2 weeks that it's that it's even halfway decent to even go outside. So it's yeah, kind of nice. I'm hoping that the weather really starts to warm up more as it inches ever closer to summer. I'm really looking forward to summer this year. I've been chatting with my sister Cece for the past couple weeks, and we're really preparing ourselves to buy a house, possibly even 2 houses. Who knows where it will go, but yeah, definitely going to be investing in some property this summer, and I'm super excited. It's not going to be, I'm going to be buying a house without the intent of living in it, which is a little different than what my initial plan for this year was, but I'm super excited to start looking into property and adding another passive source of income to my ever-growing passive sources of income. You know, if I've never talked about how to become a professional artist, just know that the #1 rule is multiple sources of passive income. You would almost never be able to be an artist nowadays if you only relied on a single type of commission income or class income, however it is that you do your art. But if you're more of a commission type artist, I am not, but if you were to charge $200 for a portrait or something like that, just think about how many portraits you would need to do in a month to pay all your bills. Probably more than humanly possible. So you have to find ways to supplement your income, find other avenues. And so I'm always looking into things, always looking into different ways that I can start adding another passive income to my life. Hey there, Shiny. Kenny, good to see you. Glad you're here also. Gia, right? I'm trying to remember your name. I'm pretty sure it's Gia, right? Welcome back. Good to see you again. You know, I have so many people that I know their screen name, but then I also know their actual name, and I try my best to remember everyone's. I guess it's good practice for all the times that I struggle with names, remembering names, but for some reason I've always seemed better if I'm doing a live stream. I always seem to do better at remembering the names. Hey there, Ulrich. I think this might be the first time I saw you in a live stream, so welcome. Appreciate you coming by. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. I love answering questions, so. Oh yeah, Wendy, for sure. Ohio has some really, really great real estate properties, and I was looking at some this morning, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, there's so many available, and for just a fantastic price, right there where I need it to be. It's so different here in Poland. You know, there's like no houses available anywhere. So when I go and look at real estate back home, I'm just like overwhelmed by the selection. There's just pages and pages and pages that I can look at, and here I'm lucky to find even a single house for sale. There's no good real estate websites here in Poland that I've come across. They're all really, really poor website designs. Oh, hey there, Jesse. Really appreciated the odd by seeing the early sketchbook on live stream a couple days ago. Oh yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, John. I'm glad. Wait a minute. John Dunn. John Dunn. That name sounds familiar. Are you somebody else using your husband's account? I don't know. For some reason, that sounds familiar. It looks familiar, but yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the live streams and you like my style and all of that. I really appreciate it. Just joined Patreon yesterday. Love the content on there. Oh, thank you so much, Justin. That really means a lot to me. Yeah, yesterday's Patreon live stream, starting the beta fish, that one went really, really well. I was really excited to see how many people came to the live stream, especially a lot of new faces, minus the faces and more like screen names, but you get what I'm saying. And yeah, I really liked the amount of work that I got done on yesterday's Patreon stream. Started to come out really good. I like the way the fish is coming. I even told my wife about it when she got home from work. I was like, you know what, today's Patreon stream was really good. You know, it was one of the best actually. Having 12 people watching the stream at one time, that was a really good boost of confidence there. Because I have a lot of patrons that they just go over to Patreon to support me. They don't go over there to learn, which is fine by me. I mean, if you just want to support my work, I won't decline the support. But you know, I just get a lot of people that they enjoy what I do and they want me to be able to continue doing it. So they just, they pledge for, $5 a month. I mean, what's $5 a month? That's like, if I am I worthy to take out for coffee one time a month? Because that's essentially what it amounts to. But of course, you get much more than a cup of coffee for $5 on my Patreon. You get not only access to the 2 weekly live streams, but also the seemingly endless library of already pre-recorded content and tutorials, essentially covering every subject you can think of. How do you layer white on dark colors like black? Well, there's this certain stage of colored pencil layers. For instance, you get to this burnishing stage where the paper just seems really, really glossy, really, really smooth and waxy. For instance, like back here on the background, like it is super, super smooth. And a lot of people would be like, well, you can't layer any more colors over top of that. It's not gonna work. And that's actually not true, because I could take, let's say this pink, this bright pinkish purple. I could start applying it over top of these colors, and it would slowly build up. And that, I usually refer to that as glazing, because it will slowly start to shift that color more into this. Now, this color won't ever perfectly show up, because it won't cover what's been laid down 100%, but it will start to change the color. It will kind of mix on the surface, I guess you could say. And that same idea is also with black. So no matter how black you get something, you can glaze color over top of it, even white. Now, you have to keep in mind that it's not going to ever become a pure, super bright white. It will just become a softer gray over time, but you can apply it. And the secret is not to press hard. It's very counterintuitive for a lot of people that are trying to do it. You think, oh, I want this white to show up, so you jam it into the paper as hard as you possibly can. But actually, that's the complete opposite of what you want to do. If you want white to show up over top of black, all you have to do is layer it lightly and then just keep doing it. Just keep adding it over and over and over again. Now, like I said, you're never going to get a pure white back, especially over something as dark as black, but you'll start lightening it, and you'll get a highlight there if that's what you're aiming for. The thing with working on top of a black pencil to create a white highlight is, in order to make it look like a white highlight, you actually don't need to go pure white, because the surrounding color will be so black that even a medium gray will look like a highlight. Now, with all of that said, there's a couple ways to get really extra bright highlights on top of black. One of the best ways, in fact, I think that it would probably be the absolute best way, is to use the brush and pencil titanium white powder and touch up texture. And I have them here. Let's see. I don't think I have them. Yeah, here we go. So this is what the titanium white looks like. It's just a white pigment. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a powder. And yeah, see, it's just a powder. And what you do is you mix this with the brush and pencil touch up texture, and this just, it just looks like nail polish. It's not nail polish, so don't go out and try nail polish. But this is essentially just a clear coat that has like a grain in it, a very, very fine like powder grain that adds texture back to the paper. So what you do is you just mix these two together and then you paint it on there like paint. And you'll get like the first layer, it won't be like a pure white. And you just do a couple layers of it and you'll get a really nice bright layer of color. And the benefit of the touch-up texture is that you can, that once it's completely dry, keyword is completely, you can actually color right over top of it. So in many cases, you could actually just layer the touch-up texture over top of the black without the white and wait for it to dry and then apply your colored pencil over top of it. And you'll get a much brighter spot with just your pencil. Do I find adding layers after using a fixative to be too grainy? I don't use fixative with my colored pencils. I don't use a workable fixative. I have in the past on a couple projects working with the brush and pencil textured fixative spray, and really the only issue or problem that I've had with it is that because it's a little thick in an aerosol can, I can never get it to spray without having a bit of a clumping issue. You know, sometimes it like spitters a little bit and it puts like a clumpy mess on my paper. You can just wipe it off, but you know, it was a little bit of a headache to deal with. But I haven't had any issues like layering over top of it and just, you know, having the artwork look perfectly fine as an end result. And you know, it's a good tool to have if you need you know, if you need that extra layer. For a lot of the stuff that I do, for a lot of the artwork that I create with colored pencils, I don't need to go beyond what the paper already allows me to. But if you're doing something like landscapes, I would say that the fixative spray is probably a really, really important tool to have, because what you can do when you're doing the landscape type subjects is, you know, you can just put in your sky and ignore, you know, any of the trees or flowers or whatever overlaps your sky, and then you can spray the fixative and then draw your trees right over top of your sky and not have that issue with the pigments not, you know, being as saturated, not as dark, and all of that stuff. I have an example of it. And if you look through my very large YouTube library of videos, and you just search for fall landscape, like fall colored pencil landscape, then you'll come across the video where I have a narrated tutorial version of it, and then I also have just like the normal time lapse. You know, the time lapse is like 3 minutes long, but the narrated tutorial is like 8 minutes long or 10. I don't know how long it is. It's somewhere there. But yeah, you can just check that out, and I talk about the fixative spray and I explain to you how I'm using it and what it does and all of that. I also have a review of it that shows what it does, and I talk about it. So there's a few videos that exist on my channel where you can get better insight. You can see me using it, see how I use it. Apologize if I happen to miss any of your other questions. No, we haven't watched the Detective Pikachu movie yet. Oh, thank you, friends. I appreciate that. So does using the smooth plate paper mean that the pencil pressure is less likely to dent the surface of the paper? No. The paper is just as sensitive as other types of paper. Now, obviously, since the plate paper is not a very thick paper, it's not thick. So obviously, the thickness of a paper is going to determine how deep you can dent it, because the amount of pressure that you add to this paper, you can only dent it so far before you can't physically dent it any farther because you're not strong enough. Whereas if you're working with like a 300, 400 GSM watercolor paper, cold pressed especially, it doesn't take barely any pressure to start imprinting on the paper because it's so thick. There's a lot of room for movement there. So I guess in a way it's a little bit harder to dent the paper, but regardless of the paper that you're working on, the amount of pressure that you need to be using with colored pencils is never more than what is necessary for the color to show up. And so no matter how soft of a paper you're working on, you'll never have to use a pressure that risks denting the paper, because you'll always be wanting to use the pressure that just enough pressure for the color to show up, and that will never be a pressure too great for the paper to withstand and not dent under. I would say for the smoother papers, from my experience, the smoother papers have a different finishing texture when you burnish the pencils. So I have a couple different watercolor papers I've tried, and some papers that have a little bit more tooth. Like a lot of my color charts over here I originally did on Bristol vellum paper, which is quite a bit more toothy or grainy than the Bristol plate paper here. And what I've noticed is that no matter how much I apply a pressure, it has this very unique paper texture pattern that shows through, and I don't like it. I've had some issues with it when I'm doing a portrait, and I really want like the paper to look nice and smooth, but I can't get it nice and smooth because the paper has this kind of egressed type of texture, like similar to the Canson Mitenta pastel paper, not to be mistaken with the Mitenta Touch, but just the regular Mitenta paper. It kind of has like this eggshell pattern, this really small eggshell pattern. So yeah, that's why I always say, you got to find the paper that's right for you, because the paper that I like isn't necessarily going to be the paper that you like. Even if you like the results of my drawing, it's not necessarily that it's the paper that makes the results. Just like it's not necessarily the colored pencils that make the results. Have I tried all the techniques in colored pencil painting portraits book? No, I have not. I have used like several of the techniques. I guess I'm not familiar enough with all of the techniques to say whether or not I have tried them all. I have certainly tried working on sandpaper with the powder blender and polychromos pencils, and using the fixative spray, the textured fixative. And that's the book focuses mainly on learning that technique and the benefits of using that technique, especially in portraits, because it makes the finished portraits look almost like an oil painting. They look absolutely gorgeous. I really, really like it, but getting sheets of sandpaper is not easy for me here in Poland because I have to order them from the UK, and it costs me it costs way too much to have them shipped here. And I have mentioned working with using the powder blender and the fixative spray, like using that technique. And though I do think the technique is very powerful, and it's very cool and very fun to use. It's not necessarily the technique that resonates well with me and in just my general style of working. I haven't become a huge fan of doing it personally. And that's not to say that, it's not a great technique. I encourage people to try it out because you could end up loving it. And if you have better access to sanded paper than I do, then that that technique would could possibly just catapult your love for colored pencils even farther. I'm going to try to make today's stream a little bit longer. I feel like I've been doing a bit of the minimum lately, but doing this live stream and then a Patreon live stream like an hour after, yeah, it can get a little daunting. But today I feel good. Yeah, I feel well rested. Although for the past like 3 or 4 days, my left eye here has just been wanting to water, like water a lot. It's really weird. It all started when I went to like rub my eye. I was playing video games with my sister, and my eye itched, so I went up to rub it. And this sounds really, really stupid, but I didn't close my eye, right? Usually your eye itches, you go up to rub it with your finger and you close your eye. Well, I didn't close my eye. So what I ended up doing is just rubbing my bare eyeball. And I was really, really into the video game at the time. So I wasn't paying really close attention, but all I knew is that I had just rubbed my bare eyeball, and it didn't feel great. Okay, it didn't feel great. And so for the past like 2 or 3 days or whatever, it's just been wanting to water, and I can't get rid of it. It sounds really, really dumb, but I can't make it stop itching, and it just keeps wanting to water. And I looked at it in the mirror, and it's not red or anything, or it just I must have like kind of scratched it a little bit, so now I just have to wait for it to heal. But now it wants to water excessively. Like my left eye just wants to keep crying. All right, I think I'm done with this pencil. Like it's getting annoyingly small, and uh, yeah, so I'm going to switch to my new one. Good morning, Virginia. Yeah, I should have my wife pick me up some eye drops or whatever to make my eye feel better. No, I checked my eye. You know, it's not like I rubbed it really hard or anything. It was just it's I'm sure my eye is going to be fine. Like I said, there's no redness, there's no scratches, there's nothing like that. It's just I think I just kind of irritated it a little bit and it just needs a few days to forgive me. Impressed on how far down you were able to sharpen that. Oh, if I had better pencil extenders, these pencil extenders are super cheap. If I had better pencil extenders, um, I would clip it right there, and I'd be able to get it down to like right there. I've done it before in the past, but now I'm not as frugal with my pencils. I can live with them maybe only getting down to there. I'll probably still give it one last sharpen, but those pencil extenders I got off Amazon for like 10 of them for like $3. So they're just garbage and they don't even fit the pencils properly. But they work. Like they're not amazing, but they do what they're supposed to do, and that's all I look for in my pencil extenders. So I really want to start coloring in the lighter gray area, but I feel like I shouldn't rush to get there. I'm just tired of using this same color. I want to use a new color. Maybe I'll do this strip and then I'll start working on that sleeve. If I can, I'll just try to do that sleeve. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That way I can just kind of switch to a new color and cover up this little mistake thingy. Because the color that I'll be using, there's not, you can't visibly see any difference here, but it will cover that up uh, perfectly. So that mistake will no longer be staring at me every day. Not to be a spoiler, but how was Avengers Endgame? Oh, and Avengers Endgame was fantastic. Yeah, it was fantastic. We watched it twice in the movie theaters. Like, we wouldn't have watched it twice if there was anything else playing, that we hadn't seen, because we like to watch as many movies as we can. Um, but since there wasn't anything playing, we were like, Psh, let's just watch Endgame again. It was fantastic. So yeah, it was really good, both the first and second time. And for the second time we watched it in the new movie theater that was built this past year. I think it opened up just before November or something around that time frame. And yeah, it was pretty comfortable seats, nice and new. Yeah, we went there. We had some time before the movie started, and so we have one of our favorite restaurants that opened up a second location inside the new mall. It's called Mihiderka. It's a vegan burger place, and they have just the most amazing lemonade that they make. And so we just ordered like a liter of lemonade and just sat there and sipped at lemonade for like 45 minutes and talked about stuff before the movie. What advice would I give to someone who is starting out on making art? Well, the best advice that I could give, well, let's. I'm going to work based on the assumption that you want to start doing art and making money from it. If let's do two scenarios. Let's do you're just starting out with art, you know, and you just want to enjoy it and have fun. The first thing that I would say is don't invest a lot. There's no reason to invest a lot of money into supplies and tools and whatever. It's totally pointless. It's not going to make you better faster. It's not going to make you enjoy it, and it's not going to do anything that you think it might. It won't. If you want to work with colored pencils, if that's something that you're interested in, then I recommend just getting the set of Prismas, you know, and some kind of sketchbook. Definitely think more about paper if you're doing colored pencils or graphite. Don't overlook the importance of paper, because I would say that was something like that took me a really long time to start to realize. If you just start with good paper from the beginning, then you're already ahead of the game there. Find subjects that you like to draw, something that can keep you motivated, because if you try to, you know, immediately start taking on commissions just because you have some talent in the beginning, odds are you're going to burn yourself out faster, because commissions aren't usually going to be the subject matter that you just, you know, you can just sit down and just draw and not think about anything and just enjoy it for hours and hours. So don't try to turn it into a job right away. If you want to enjoy art, don't turn it into a job right away. Um, um, yeah, so that's the scenario in which case you're just starting out. You're not trying to like become an artist in the sense that you make it your career. Now, if you're thinking about doing it as a career, there's so many there is so many different avenues, career wise, and I would say there's going to be two main directions. Like there's two paths you can take. You can take the educational path, which is what I ended up taking because I like to teach. And then there's the creative direction, which is where you plan on making money based on what you create. See, I haven't sold any of my artwork. I don't do commissions that often. I'm maybe one or two a year. But that's not my, that's not what I look for to make money. I'm not looking to sell my stuff. I'm not looking to take on commissions to make a living. So those are the two main directions. And then you can do commercial or non-commercial. Because you can either work for a business that uses your artistic skills to, produce whatever it is they produce. Maybe it's greeting cards. Maybe it's game development. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe you'll just like to do logos and you like to be the person that comes up with company logos or whatever. So there's a bunch of different sides of the creative side as opposed to the educational side. The educational side essentially has two. You can either teach the way that I teach, which is my own volition, or you can teach mainstream, think about teaching at a school, teaching at a university, something like that. And once you have like the path that you would prefer, you find people on that path and you ask them everything. You just keep asking questions until you understand what you need to do. And you just take it one step at a time. Just like when it comes to, drawing this picture that I've been working on for 17 days now. All I started with was, coloring the background. Was it fun? No. Was it hard? Not really. It was pretty easy to do. Didn't take a lot of thought. Just started applying the colors where I needed it. Just one teeny tiny little step, right? And that's all you need. You just need that first step. The second step is always half as difficult as the first one, right? So if you can figure out how to take the first step, the second step is going to come very shortly after that. And then the third step, and once you have taken enough steps, then you're walking, right? The first step is always the hardest. It's always the most daunting. It's it's like when you're trying to learn to walk, you're always holding yourself up like by the couch or the counter table or something like that, right? It's that the first step, it doesn't count, okay? If you're holding yourself up, you're not walking. But as soon as you let go of the countertop, the coffee table or the couch cushion or whatever it is that you were holding on to, that first step you take, you have to trust your ability to not fall, right? So that's the first hardest thing to do, is that first step. And once you take that first one, then you're like, okay, well, I can take one step, so let me just take another. So you take that second step, and then you're walking. A bit of time, a bit of practice, you're walking, and then almost as soon as you're walking, you're running. So it just takes finding that first step. If you can identify your direction, then you're going to spend less time walking in the wrong direction. So, just, you don't have to overthink it. I think that's probably all too common to overthink it. Keep things simple, and you'll be okay. If you have specific questions on how to start, I can do my best to give you whatever insight I have, but just know that I didn't go to school to be an artist. I didn't go to school to start my business that I have. I didn't get any training from anywhere except for life and failing. So failing is the only teacher that I've had in my success, or yeah, in my success here on YouTube and Patreon and stuff. You know, I went to school for a completely different thing and had no, I had nothing that really prepared me for what I've created. I just kind of thought of new things as time went by. And it probably would have been 1,000 times easier if I had like a mentor that I could have, you know, been like, hey, you know, what's a good way for me to start making money, and how can I turn this into a profitable business venture, you know? How can I stop losing money every month? Oh, hey there, Jackie. Welcome to the live stream. So, friends, you're young, but age makes no difference. Age makes no difference at all. You have the upper hand in your case than what I had in mine, because I didn't really start doing this until I was 26, 27. So I didn't start thinking about these things until I was much older. And, you know, if you can start, you know, kind of thinking about the direction that you want to go, then you can start asking people now. You can start asking people before it's even possible for you to move in that direction. You know, obviously you have to finish uh, your school and all of that. So just start gathering information. That's that's what I would advise you to do. Just start gathering as much information as possible. Because 12 years old, you've got what 6, 7 years left of school. That's not too soon. It's never too soon to start thinking about where you want to go, you know, what direction you want to go. It's the people in school that are never thinking about this that have the hardest time afterwards. So if you start thinking about it now, you will be so far ahead of everyone. But if you're just looking to get better at art, you just got to do it, you know? Don't worry about anything. Just get a piece of paper, draw on everything. I used to draw on the back of all of my class worksheets, you know, especially math worksheets, because I'd finish them in like 5 seconds and then I'd just start doodling on the back. I used to draw my teachers as goofy cartoon characters. I would just draw anything, and just keep drawing. I drew a lot when I was 12. 12 and 13 in middle school. Yeah, I drew so much. I drew even more when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I started really practicing certain things. Started practicing faces, started practicing anatomy. You know, I just sit there and draw a hand, draw a face, draw a foot, you know, draw heads, you know, different head shapes, different angles, all of that stuff. So there's a million different directions to go. You are only limited by your own mind, so keep it open, and you'll have unlimited possibilities. You're very welcome. Find something that you like to draw and just keep drawing it. When I was in middle school and high school and stuff, I got in trouble a lot. Actually, throughout school, I got in trouble all the time. I was always doing something stupid. But we had this thing. We had this thing at my school called DMR. Really, what it is in-school suspension. So you're taken out of class and you're put into this other classroom with other people that are in trouble, and you have to sit in that classroom the entire day, and the only thing you're allowed to do is like schoolwork. But all that meant for me was I get to sit in this one classroom and draw the entire school day. But you had to keep the drawing a secret, because if the teacher caught you, they would make you copy the dictionary. They'd give you a dictionary and you'd have to write the definition of words, and they just give you, they'd say a letter like L, and you'd have to start at L and just keep doing it. But that would never work on me. I would always just draw. I have actually a sketchbook that was like my DMR sketchbook, because I had spent so much time in DMR. Oh, I spent so much time in DMR and suspended. I've been suspended so much when I was in school. Like, I remember when I was no, it wasn't freshman. It was, I want to say it was 8th grade. Yeah, it was 8th grade. For the entire first quarter of the school year, I skipped school every single Friday. Every single Friday, I would just not go to school. And I got in a lot of trouble for it. I ended up getting put on probation. Like, I had to go to court and everything. I got in big trouble for doing it. So I definitely don't recommend it. In the long term, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time suspended. I spent a lot of time in DMR, which meant I spent a lot of school hours drawing. But maybe I could have found better ways to draw, instead of getting into trouble. Yeah, it is a strange punishment. See, if you get put in DMR, like, I actually somewhat enjoyed it, right? The downside is eventually you kind of get a little lonely. Even though you're sitting there with people, you'll get yelled at immediately if you're talking. So Spending 8 hours in the room, not being able to talk, it gets old sometimes. But sometimes I just flat out enjoyed it. I was like, okay, so I don't have to go to class. My teachers are responsible for bringing me my classwork. Like, I just sit in this room, my teachers come and bring my worksheets. I don't have to listen to them yammer on for 40 minutes to explain a subject that I already know how to do. And I can just sit here and do the worksheets and then be done with all of my homework and my schoolwork in 2 hours? I liked it. Like 90% of the time I liked it, because that's what it meant. If you didn't have any schoolwork, the teacher would make you write from the dictionary. But if you did have schoolwork, then you could just finish all your schoolwork, and then by the end of the day you have no homework. That's the way it should be. I always hated the teachers that would give you homework. Homework is such garbage. I never did homework either. That was another thing that I'd always get in trouble for, not doing homework. Actually, I almost dropped out of high school because of homework, and I almost failed. I almost failed my senior year of high school because I didn't do any homework in my math class. There was like one class, my English class, and I just absolutely adored my English teacher. He was awesome. He was just one of the best teachers that I've ever had. And so I actually enjoyed doing the homework that he would give us, like book reports and reading and stuff like that. And I actually didn't mind doing his homework because he didn't assign very much of it. It was always relatively easy to do. But when it came to math, I never did the homework, because what is the purpose of math homework? It's to practice. The only way to get good at math is to do it over and over again. You start to see the patterns and equations and things like that, and then it just becomes intuitive. Well, what if you already see the patterns and everything about it is already intuitive? There is no point in the homework. And I proved it over and over and over again, because when I was a senior in high school, every single math test, pop quiz, anything that my teacher threw at the class, I would get 100% every single time. Every single test for the entire school year was 100%. But I never once turned in a homework assignment for the entire year. The entire school year, never once did a homework assignment. But my teacher, in her infinite wisdom, made homework 55% of your total grade. So if you did no homework the entire year and aced every single test, as I did, the best you could do is an F. So it was like the day that my teacher had to turn in grades, and she came up to me, she said, "You are going to fail math." And I said, "Why? I get hundreds on literally everything I do." And she explained exactly what I just explained to you. And I was like, "Well, is there anything I can do?" And she said, "Let me check." She handed me like 3 math assignments, 3 homework assignment worksheets. Took me like 5 minutes to do. And I went from an F to a C in the matter of 5 minutes plus the 10 minutes she spent grading and inputting the grade into her computer. I don't know why I'm telling you this story. I really don't. No, I never gave my parents a hard time. Um, I grew up with my dad and my two sisters. And my dad he was always working, always working. So he never knew what was going on with school. Yeah, like he never checked homework. He never gave me lunch money. Um, Sometimes he'd give me lunch money, but I'd say I don't know, close to 85% of the time, I would either not eat or one of my teachers would bring me food or something like that. And there was a couple years where I was on like the free lunch program because my dad didn't make enough money, and then there was other times where I was on reduced, which meant like my lunch was like 50 cents or something like that. But even when it was just as low as 50 cents, oftentimes, I wouldn't have lunch money because there would be weeks, my dad would be gone in the morning before I leave for school, and I would be asleep before I see him. And then, so there'd be days or weeks that I wouldn't, maybe not weeks, but there'd certainly be a week where I wouldn't see him unless it was like one day on the weekend or something like that. So for the most part, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to ask for lunch money. So most of the time, I just didn't have it if I was on reduced lunch. Gosh, there's so many weird conversations. Why am I talking about this? I have no idea why I'm talking about this. How would you find someone to buy your artwork if you've never sold anything before? Well, there's a lot of different websites that you can list your artwork on. The if you don't have like even a small following of people that are familiar with your work, then that's going to be what you want to start doing. Like you want to start getting an Instagram following. You want to start, getting people liking your work on Facebook and sharing your work. You need to start building an audience, I guess. You don't have to go as far as starting a YouTube channel, but certainly you need to start getting more eyes onto your work. That is going to be your greatest tool. Because let's say, for instance, you don't have an Instagram, you're not sharing your work on a fan page, not a personal page. Personal pages, they can be good, but a fan page would be much better on Facebook. Let's say that you don't have either of those things, and maybe you list it on Etsy. That's a place you could sell your artwork, or eBay. That's another place you could do it, or maybe you set up your own website. Okay, either of those three things, right? You could post your work to sell it. Who's going to be looking for it? Well, nobody. Why? Because you don't have any fans on Instagram, you don't have any fans on Facebook. Twitter's another one. Maybe you don't have any fans on Twitter. The thing that you want is eyes. You want eyes on your work, because the more eyes on your work, the more likely you're going to be able to sell it when you say, hey, this is for sale. I could probably list a piece of work today on my website and it probably sell within the week. Because I have eyes. I can post it over on Instagram. I only have like 2,000 followers on Instagram, but I don't take Instagram seriously. Although maybe I should a little bit. I have like 5,000 on Facebook, and then I have people that, will share it on Facebook. So 5,000-ish people might see it. And then, of course, if I mention it on a live stream or something like that, there's 1,000 people that might come across me saying that I have it. And then there's the people that just go to my website. I get somewhere around like 800 new unique people going to my website each day. So that's, a lot of people there. So once you start building kind of the audience or the fan base or whatever you want to call it, it will become a lot easier to sell your stuff because you'll have more eyes on it. As opposed to just listing it on a website with no following. I've only sold a few of my pieces of work, and that's because when I posted it on Facebook, people were like, "Oh, can I buy this?" And I sold it to them. I don't get too many of those because a lot of people already know that I haven't, started listing my artwork. I was hoping to have artwork listed, this month at least, but eBay is retarded. They won't let me make a listing because my PayPal business account is from the US because I had it before I moved to Poland, and I live in Poland, and so they won't let me list things because I live in Poland but my PayPal is in the US. It's really, really stupid, and so I've given up on eBay, so I'll probably just end up listing something on my website. Maybe list like 2 or 3 pastel paintings and just see how they do. And, I won't have to pay for eBay's stupid commission stuff either, so I guess there's that. But I really wanted to do an auction, and I can't do that on my website. Why? I don't know, but I haven't been able to solve that problem. How do I price my artwork? That's another really, really common question. And, the funny thing about that question is I've never asked myself that. I've never struggled with pricing my artwork. And the reason I've never struggled with pricing my artwork is because I just make it up. Like, that's the secret. You just make it up. All right? Really. Like, I don't care what whoever over here is selling their artwork for, no more than I care what this person over here is selling their artwork for. I mean, there's a lot of things that I care about, but what those people are selling their artwork for, it couldn't be further from my mind. You just make it up, okay? There is no secret. There's no secret to like pricing your artwork. There's no magic formula like, oh, it's this by this. I used these pencils. It's this subject. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. People way overcomplicate this, okay? Keep it simple. Make it up. There it is. That's the secret to pricing your artwork. Just make it up. Yeah. Now, getting into the specifics of pricing my artwork, because I do just indeed make it up, here are a few like minor factors that I allow to influence what number I eventually just pull out of thin air. The first factor is, how attached am I to the artwork? If I don't want the artwork to sell, like if I don't want this piece to sell, then I will give it a price that nobody in their right mind would buy it. So that's the first thing that I would do. And that's fine because I don't want to sell it in the first place. But if somebody buys it, then I know they're not in the right mind, and I'll gladly take their money, and they can have the piece of work. But that's a scenario that hasn't yet happened. So what about the artwork that, I'm perfectly fine actually selling? Now my prices have changed, and they gradually get higher and higher each year. As I become a more popular artist, my work would become more scarce and more in demand if people were looking to purchase something of mine. So that allows me to arbitrarily increase the price simply based on demand. And also my skill level, So I probably started out like $100, like $100 minimum. If you don't feel like you can actually ask $100 for your artwork, then odds are you don't need to even be thinking about selling. You should probably just focus on getting better until you are like, yeah, that's $100 worth of time and effort. But you could get there in a year easily. No matter what level you're at, you could get to $100 worth of artwork in a year. Easy peasy. Trying to think of any other factor. There's really not. Like I said, I just make it up. I really do. And I like round numbers, 100, 200, 300, 400. So I usually keep it like that. I don't do like, that's, that piece there, that one's 124 and 72 cents. Like I don't do that. If I would say 124, I'd be like, that's close enough to 200. It's 200. Or something along those lines. Like I said, I just make it up. I just make it up. Another factor that you might consider is like the cost of supplies. So if you used like expensive pencils or whatever, then add $50 for cost of supplies, whatever you want. Whatever you want. I gotta sharpen my pencil really quick. Give me a second. There we go. Have I looked into seeing if there are any Facebook auction groups? I have. Somebody had mentioned doing a Facebook auction, and I looked, and I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. But I I didn't even want to incorporate eBay into my business in any way, simply because I have enough websites that I'm constantly having to like monitor and check messages and just stuff I hate dealing with. And I looked into how to do an auction on Facebook, and nothing panned out with any reasonable effect. And I was like, okay, I've already spent more time on this than I wanted to, because like I said, I don't really care to sell my artwork. I'm not like really trying to do it in the first place. So if it takes too long, I get tired of dealing with it and I stop. So the eBay thing drove me nuts. The Facebook thing didn't work out. And so what I think I'll probably just end up doing is listing a few things on my website, seeing what the response is, and if it works out, then I'll list a few more things, but not this month. I won't do it this month for sure. I don't even know if I'm coloring this the right color. Yeah, I am. Okay. Good morning, Barbara. Good to see you. I think I'm going to finish these last stripes here with the light gray because I haven't finished doing the second layer of the dark. And then I'll just start blending out with some solvent. And that will probably be it for today. I don't even know how long I've been streaming. That was a little over an hour. I feel like I've been streaming longer. That's weird. Usually it's the other way around. I thought for sure I was going to be getting closer to the 2 hour mark. I probably will be closer, much closer to the 2 hour mark by the time I finish filling these stripes here in and then blending it out, blending everything out with solvent. So. And then I'd say tomorrow, I think I'll have the paper 100% covered. So I will be in a very good place after tomorrow's live stream. I'll still need to do a bit of extra layering on these colors before I start going in and doing the highlights and the shadows and stuff. But I mean, it feels so good to get the paper 100% covered that I just love that. I need to start wearing like a mask or like some kind of face shield when I am working on artwork so that I can stop slobbering all over my work. I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but there's just so much. There's so much, it's awful. If you see these little marks here, these little like dots from the colored pencil, it's not the paper, it's not the colored pencil, it's just me spitting on my artwork. That's the major drawback of drawing and talking on the live streams. Is that I just can't not have that issue show up. It's not as bad with colored pencils, but it's really bad with pastels because pastels do not like to get wet. You need to get one of those like medical masks that you always see people walking around on. Would that be weird? It'd probably make my voice sound even more muffled. Oh, thank you guys. I'm glad you like the way that's coming together. I'll zoom out a little bit more so you can see it. Yeah. So there's like the whole thing. So yeah, it's coming together. It's definitely coming together. Day 17. I actually feel ahead. I actually feel like I'm ahead of where I thought I would be. Because tomorrow I'm pretty confident that tomorrow I'm gonna get the rest of the shirt colored in. Like, and I didn't think that I'd actually get there by tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow. So yeah, I feel ahead of the game. So I'm feeling like I'm in a really good spot, and then I can just kind of start finicking with the details a bit. And I think I'm going to just start with the shirt. The shirt is a really safe place to fiddle around with the colors and all of that, because you guys don't know what this shirt actually looks like. I mean, if I was coloring it in green right now, you'd have no idea. I could change these colors any way that I wanted, but not so much with skin tones and stuff. So yeah, I think I'll just play around with the shirt for a couple days and make it look good. And then maybe work on the background a little bit more. Yeah, I do need to work on the background for sure. Just do like a couple more polishing layers, maybe a bit of toning. I kind of want to bring this red out a little bit more and just overall get it perfectly smooth, and yeah, just get it in a good spot. Maybe add a bit of white here to create a bit more of a glow, a more light. I think I'll do something like that. And then finally I can call the background like 100% done. That would be a good feeling, since it takes up so much of the drawing overall. It's kind of ironic your channel name is Unmask, but you're considering to wear a mask. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's really funny. That is really funny. Yeah, I never really, I mean, the mask part of my name doesn't really it have any association whatsoever with an actual mask. I mean, I realize that the logo is a mask, but it's actually just referring to masking tape and the idea of revealing. So that's never really thought of the irony there. You stayed up, Cece. Did you get any sleep at all? Oh, almost done filling this in. And then I get to blend it with some solvent. I almost just want to like keep going until I have the paper covered, but I think I'll hold off. Yeah, let's just grab my brush. Come here, brush. Come here, solvent. All right. I actually have to blend out the dark stripes first, so I'm going to start with those. Since they're pretty well covered, it shouldn't take too long to do. They should smooth out really easily. How about that secret painting? Yeah. There's no upload issue, so it has to be your internet connection, Barbara, because everything's in focus. My upload speed is a-okay. My connection to YouTube is as good as it can get. So yeah. Yeah, I really, I've been looking at my oil painting the past couple days, and I'm like, oh gosh, I just want to work on it. But it's so much. Oh my gosh, it's so much to add to a day of daily streaming to start working on that painting again. I really look forward to working on it again, but I honestly don't even see I don't even see the opportunity to finish it. There's still so much work that I have to do on it. I mean, yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot that I need to do. And I haven't gotten to the polishing stage on it. And before I even get to that part, there's still a lot. And then, of course, there's the polishing stage of that project. And that doesn't even include what I'm doing with the video part of it. Because I'm not going to share the painting until I share the video. And so there's the video part and the editing and so much more that I want to do with the project overall, because it's going to be the best painting. It's going to, as far as like quality plus skill, it's going to be the best painting that I've ever done. It's going to be the hardest subject slash project that I've ever created. And it's going to be my favorite project that I've ever done. And so there's literally no potential of me rushing it, because it's going to hold all of those qualities for a really long time, I'm guessing. Once I'm done with it, it's probably going to hold on to all of those qualities of being my favorite, being the best for a long, long time. I'm going to have a busy month next month also. I got a few things I need to do. I need to prepare for July also, for the pastel portrait course that I want to put together in July. So there's just like an endless list of things that I want to get done. Because I got one course done for the year, and my goal is 4. Like, that's where I'd really like to be. I'd love to put out 4 new courses this year. So if I can do one in July, maybe one in like September, and then maybe one in like November/December, preferably November. But yeah, Wendy. When you get that project, when you get that project, and you're like, you just have this overwhelming desire to just make the project the best that you can. You just have to spend the time. Like, that's where real skill comes from. It's not knowing the technique, it's not experience, it's just the patience. Patience is the ultimate level of skill. It outranks everything. You could have every skill in the book mastered, but if you don't have patience mastered, you're still gonna create a piece of crap. It might be a higher level piece of crap, but patience outranks everything. Kenny, I have to look it up. Yeah, I meant to look it up yesterday with the Pokemon movie, but I didn't. Darn it. I every time I type, I forget that when I push the space bar, um, it turns off my microphone. I need to change that setting. In fact, let me just change that setting now so I don't forget. Oh, I started blending the wrong one. Let me see here. Clear, clear. Okay. Perfect. All right, now I can touch the space bar and it not mess up the live stream. I forgot that I keep forgetting that. Anyways, so what I said is that what you guys missed as I was talking was that Detective Pikachu is not in our theaters. I was correct to say that it doesn't come here until May 31st. And then I listed off the movies that they currently have, none of which are Detective Pikachu. I don't know why that is, but that is the case here in Poland, or at least this part of Poland that I currently reside in. So I'm going to finish blending with my solvent with the lighter stripes on my shirt here that I've filled in today. And that's going to be it for today's live stream. I have a watermelon in the kitchen that needs to be eaten. So I'm gonna have to call it done for the day after I blend this out so that I can go take care of that watermelon that's been screaming my name for the last hour. Can't believe you guys haven't complained about that watermelon yet. It's been driving me crazy the whole stream. Tonight for dinner, I'm going to make something new, 100% Freestyle Friday. That's how it goes in my household. Freestyle Fridays. Sometimes Friday happens on Tuesday, but either way, I've been having a lot of fun in the kitchen lately. You know, with the challenge of not cooking with oil, not cooking with flour or any processed food. It's been a delightful challenge, and on the menu this evening, I'm going to make stuffed sweet peppers. I have like five red sweet peppers, and I'm going to make a stuffing of green lentils, onions, spinach, and tomato. I'm going to make a tomato sauce to put on top of it. I'm just going to put it in a baking thing, whatever, I actually don't know what you call them. A baking thing. I'm going to put it in a baking thing, and I'm going to bake it in the oven. And that's what's on the menu this evening. And I have no recipe for it. I'm going to just go in the kitchen and freestyle it. That's what I do. I'm not even going to look up what temperature I should have the oven at. I'm just going to guess based on years and years of experience of using an oven. Oh, you were hoping I'd talk about food? Yeah. No, it's not a tray. It's not a baking tray. It's what you would bake lasagna in. Like a baking pan. I don't, even pan sounds wrong. It's like a square deep dish thing that you'd bake lasagna in. I should try to make a zucchini lasagna. Wonder how I'd do that. A zucchini lasagna with some tomatoes and cashew cheese. And lentils. Mushrooms and onions and spinach. Yeah, that sounds good too. I should try a zucchini lasagna. A baking square? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like a baking square. I've never heard of a baking square before, but maybe it's called a baking square. Got everybody in the chat trying to figure out what this thing is called. Take care, Kenny. Thanks for coming by and hanging out with all of us. Eventually, we'll all see Pikachu, so give us some time. We're not always lucky as you. Get to watch it as soon as it comes out. Just kidding. Cece, why you screaming at me? What is it? What do you want? Something break? What happened? What messed up now? Yeah, I think for sure there's probably going to be an Unmask cookbook in the future. Where did you ask me a question, Cece? Still curious of my thumbs down. You mean that one live stream where I told everybody to give it a thumbs down instead of a thumbs up? There was no reason for it. It was more out of curiosity than anything. I wanted to see if I could get people to give the video a thumbs down. That was all it was. I ignore no questions. Thanks for the heads up there, Wendy, about the zucchini lasagna. You know, what I've been hoping I'd find in the store, but I've had no such luck, is spaghetti squash. I don't know if they have spaghetti squash in Poland. Because I was looking for it. They have this melon, this sweet melon thing that looks identical to a spaghetti squash. It looks identical. It's that same color yellow. It has that same exact kind of semi football shape to it. It's actually probably closer to a rugby football shape, a rugby ball. Is it called a rugby ball? See, this is where the conversation just gets completely sidetracked as we start talking about rugby. But Yeah, it's not a spaghetti squash. Instead, it's some kind of melon. Is your blending more wet than when you did the background? It looks wetter. Um, it's not wetter. It looks this way. It looks wetter because the colors are darker, and it's just appearing more drastic. Whereas the background, since the colors are kind of bright and they're much lighter than the shirt, they don't appear to get as dark. And the other thing is, as I'm blending out this color, so if you look at it here, this color looks a lot lighter than this color here, but in actuality, it's actually the same exact color. The difference is that when I blend it out, less of the paper shows through, so less of the white paper shows through. And since the less of the white paper shows through, the color appears darker. So that's really what's happening. So it's all an optical illusion. I'm using the same amount of solvent that I used in the background. Maybe even a little more actually, but who's measuring? Calm down with the questions. I see the questions. Sometimes I miss them. I don't ignore nobody. Yes, I can absolutely suggest a non-toxic pencil solvent, because I myself uses a non-toxic, environmentally friendly solvent, which is Zest It. It doesn't smell, doesn't bother me, it's not bad for the environment, and it works because you can see it working right now as I'm using it to blend these colored pencils. Almost done, everyone. Almost done for the day. Oh, that's a lot of solvent there. Gotta spread that out quickly. Come here. You're too wet. There you go. Can't find Zest It in Italy. Buy it from the UK. Buy it online. Yeah, you can. Jackson's Art Supply is where I ordered mine. It might be a little costly to have it shipped to wherever you're at, or I mean, yeah, I know you're in Italy, but you know, this is a 250 milliliters. It's lasted me like 2 years, and it's still more than halfway full. So it's been 2 years I've been using this. It's still more than halfway full, and it's only 250 milliliters. I don't remember how much this particular bottle cost, but you know, order some paper, order some pencils, some pastels or whatever from Jackson's, and then just add a bottle of this. You know, since it's non-toxic, it's not flammable or any of that goofy stuff. If I remember correctly, there wasn't like a hazardous material cost to the courier, so it wasn't like an added price to get it shipped here to Poland. I have to order all of my art supplies outside of the country. The art stores here in Poland are worthless. The only reliable thing I can get there is kneaded erasers and cheap paintbrushes. Can't get any paper, can't get any supplies, nothing. Nothing useful from the art stores here in Poland. Sometimes I see art students, because there's an art school here in the city, carrying those big, goofy, what are those stupid things called? Portfolios. They're giant portfolios with a strap, and they're just like this big black box thing that they carry hanging off their shoulder all awkwardly. Sometimes I see them on the bus or walking around the city center, and I just want to stop and be like, where do you get your art supplies? I just want to ask them, like, if there's some secret art store that I don't know about where they sell good supplies. So I can stop ordering everything off the internet and paying an arm and a leg for the shipping cost. You're welcome. Hopefully ordering from Jackson's works out for you. Because like I said, these small bottles, they will last you a really long time. Because you don't need to use a lot of solvent, Just need to get the brush a little damp, and then it will work fine from there. Alright, this is the last one. The last bit of blending. Come a long way today. Got a whole bunch done. Almost got the paper completely covered. Only took 17 days. That means, I've streamed on average like an hour every single time. Today, it's closer to 2 hours. But that means, if we just average it out, say an hour, that means I've spent 17 hours on this drawing. And it's still nowhere near being done. I don't need 17 hours, and I don't even have the paper covered. Okay, so that's patience. All right, that's what patience looks like. Actually, it doesn't actually look like this. What this looks like is that I talk too much during live streams. That's what it actually looks like. But I am going to go. So thank you guys so much for coming by and hanging out. Be sure to give the live stream a thumbs up for me. And what else? Yeah, if you're not supporting me over on Patreon, I have a link for that in the description. I'd love to have you. We just started a new project. The fish is hanging over there. I'll grab it. Hold on a second. All right, so here's the fish project. I know it's not a lot done yet, but it's the body of the fish that we started yesterday on Patreon. So that's the project we're working on over there for colored pencils. And this is the lion project that we're also doing. So I work on this project. This is pastels. I work on this one on Tuesdays. I'm going to work on the fish on Thursdays. And it's live streams just like this. So all the tutorials are in real time. I mean, I know most of you already know this, but if you happen to be new to my channel, that's the way it works over on Patreon. So yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Friday, and I will see you next time. Take care. Peace.